What's up, folks? This is Kenny with Just the Right Angle. Here to give an update, a Saturday video, if you will. I'm using YouTube last time I used Rumble, and I was not able to actually upload it. So I'm using YouTube this time. I'll download this and then put it on, distribute it out in various forms. You can find me on YouTube, keeparkansaslegal. I'm also on Rumble, Just the Right Angle, as well as Podbean. Well, I'll put this as audio for that. Well, folks, really Friday was a bad day for conservatives, for those who are fighting for freedom, for the, as said in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There is now a bill that will be on the ballot in November that will legalize the murder of the unborn, thus taking away the life portion of that of individuals. Several million, I think it's 55 million babies have been aborted in the United States since Roe v. Wade. Now, for those that don't know, Roe v. Wade was a form of judicial activism done in the 70s that forced all states to legalize the murder of the unborn. It didn't legalize abortion, it just forced all the states had to adhere to the federal government. Now, I don't know how many millions of lives would have been saved had states had said, no, we're not going to do this. But that's hearsay. You know, that was all done and decided before I was born. And it looked like it was going to be the law of the land. And for, close to 50 years it was. Notice, by the way, we had well over 2 centuries. Well, not quite 2 centuries. I think it was about 1776 founding. Not quite 2 centuries of pro-life precedent. But of course, the pro-abortion people never mention that. They only are concerned with the past that benefits them. Anyway, Roe v. Wade was overturned recently, thanks in part to Donald Trump putting Supreme Court justices and by pressure by the Texas legislature when they found a way to legally bankrupt the pro-abortion industry. And I have to say that because it was really them, the Texas legislature, when they pushed that bill and other states began to realize that we can bankrupt these pro-abortion murder mills, that's when the court, okay, we might as well throw Roe v. Wade out. And a lot of these leftists and these, especially these wine-sipping Jezebel hussies who just want to fool around and not have to deal with the consequences of it, got all angry, and they're trying to push for abortion. And of course, when they push for abortion, they don't talk about the 90+% of abortions which are done just for convenience, so that some girl can go to the nightclub and wear designer clothes. No. They always talk about the rape and the incest, and oh, you can't burden some poor child with having another child, or that we have to protect the life of the mother. So they only focus on the extreme, which, by the way, and that with such a small percentage, you could view what's known as a case-by-case basis, where a judge, as they've done many times before, many other issues, could say, I'm going to allow this procedure to go through, that sort of thing. Or even minimize the fee and fine and punishment for reporting a life-saving procedure. By the way, oftentimes if a child is already dead, it's not an abortion, it's a stillborn. But in any event, Roe v. Wade's overturned, and so in several states, leftists are riled up and trying to legalize the murder of the unborn. It's part of their, it's more important to them than almost anything else. About maybe the only thing more important than that is allowing illegal aliens to destroy this nation. But of course, in order to do that, in some states, they just have a state legislature and they can twist their arm and make them legalize abortion. Here in Arkansas, we have a Republican supermajority, and we have Republican governor, Republican attorney general, secretary of state, etc., all the constitutional offices. So they couldn't do that in the state legislature. I don't even think they attempted to. But we do have a ballot measure system to where if you get enough signatures, you can put an item on the ballot. Now originally, this ballot measure system was designed so that we, the people, could push for our own laws and not have to depend on the legislature. It was designed for that. Unfortunately, because the left has used it as a tool, and because we have, what we've had for several years, a bunch of what we call rhinos, Republican in name only establishment types, the consultant class that still run the Republican Party, instead of finding a way to stop these out-of-town gazillionaires from changing Arkansas policy, all they did was make gathering signature process, the ballot initiative process, harder for folks. They made it so you have to get a number of more signatures and more signatures from more counties. It's up to 50. I think it was up to 15 last time. Since these so-called ballot measure reforms were made, now it's up to 50. All it really means is that conservatives can no longer do a ballot initiative, and the left can, as long as they pay for people. And that's what happened with the abortion amendment. Most of the abortion amendment signatures were done by paid canvassers. Most of them were paid about $30 an hour, plus expenses. As I understand, they also had attorneys on call, so they can some of them at an instantly. And there's lots of money they spent on advertising. They had in their budget, and you can look this up on the Arkansas Ethics Commission, $340,000 for the group Arkansas for Limited Government, which is the group, they changed their name in December from, I think, reproductive rights to that, because people caught on and know that reproductive rights means abortion. So they call themselves Arkansas for Limited Government. That's the name of the ballot that was formed. And they had $340,000. About $150,000 of that came from this couple named the Huffins, who actually live in Connecticut. And they have a fake little LLC thing that's supposedly for agriculture up in Blytheville. So when they donate, that's the address they use. But again, they live in Connecticut. They're not Arkansans. And that's who bankrolled a lot of this movement. Now, there was a counter movement called Decline to Sign. And this is mainly a group of people, Christian conservatives, who got together and said, hey, let's try to tell people not to sign this ballot initiative. They actually had several $1,000s in the bank themselves, but they did not pay for boots on the ground activists, what we would call blockers, people who could go up and tell people, hey, don't sign this. Now, I'm going to go into a little more to detail of who was involved in that in another video. But what I first want to talk about is part of the reason why the pro-abortion people won and the decline to sign people lost. One reason is motivation. As I mentioned before, the leftists are highly motivated. The media keeps talking about abortion like it's the most important thing in the world. They keep bemoaning how Roe v. Wade was supposedly the law. Put up things like The Handmaid's Tale, all kinds of. If you go to Hollywood and TV and Netflix, there'll be every other TV show in some way, shape, and form talking. It's more rights according to a lot of these. It's because, well, some people become complacent. They think, oh, I'm in a red state. My state voted for Trump, 60, 70%, so I don't need to do anything political. So they're too over-focused on national issues. There's also the fact that many people have become burned out from political stuff, especially with the activities of the Republican and name-only class. For instance, June 8th, we had our Republican Party of Arkansas State Convention, which lasted 10 hours because Chris Caldwell and Richard Bearden and Randy Zook of the Chamber of Commerce and other these consulting elitist types, either directly or indirectly, tried to sabotage, tried to keep conservatives from being able to change some of the rules, particularly the closing of primaries. They even hired a Republican Party of Arkansas parliamentarian to check and see, to advise and make sure no rules were broken, which, by the way, that person has never said anything was wrong with the convention. Neither has anybody else anything specific. So we have closed primaries in the Republican Party. The convention has not adjourned, so it could be called back, but we have yet to receive the delegate list from that convention. That should have been sent to various county chairs a week before the convention even started. It's been about a month now, and that hasn't been done. Last I checked. Also, last I checked, the rules in the platform have not been changed. And most importantly, I don't know what, if anything, has been done regarding the actual implementation of closing of the primaries, which again is the law of the land. Because the law states, and this has already been decided under past legal precedent, legal cases, that the party decides whether or not to open or close their conventions. Not the legislature, not the Secretary of State, not the Attorney General, not the governor, not even a ballot initiative by the people. It's only the primary. It's only the political party that has the decision on closing the primaries. And we also know for a fact that Democrats are actually angry at this because they want to affect our primary elections. And so when you have incidents like that and the police getting sicked on you to get kicked out of, events like what happened in the last Republican Party of Arkansas convention, where Pulaski County delegates were denied, falsely accused of not properly selecting their delegates, and then denied ability to vote in the last convention, and then kicked out of the hotel by police illegally hired by the RPA to enforce made-up rules. That sort of stuff can burn people out. And so I know for a fact there's a lot of people that were active in the Republican Party, active in conservative politics, and they left because of stuff like that. And not to mention the fact they weren't paid. And that, again, is something I'll go into more detail in another video. But Christian conservatives were demotivated. They were not motivated to get out and do stuff during the summer. And another issue is apathy within the church. Christian conservatives, some people that are pro-life want nothing to do with Christianity at all, but a lot of people do. And in the past, they've been very successful. We passed a lot of pro-life bills here, some even during when we had a Democrat legislature, because the church rose up and said, we're tired of this. We're tired of babies being murdered for the convenience, which is what abortion really is for the most part. And they said, we want something done about this. And so there's been various laws to restrict the murder of the unborn pushed through in the past. But lately, a lot of churches have gone non-political. Some of it may be due to the tax issue. There's a law that says if a church becomes politically involved, they could lose their tax-exempt status. From what I understand, that law's never been enforced. But a lot of it's just plain old apathy. They don't care. People a lot of times are now going to church just to network, just to feel good, just to have their ears tickled, so to speak. Some are going there to as a dating site. Some are going there to get a better job. Some are just there to hang out. And some people want to legitimately worship God, but they don't want to. But when they leave church, they kind of be like, okay, I feel good. I feel spiritually renewed. But then they don't go and do anything. And sadly, that's been a lot of people for a long time. And not just on political stuff, but in general. And so when you have stuff like that, and people just, don't feel a need to do much, or if they do, it's on some mission trip over to across the world, then you're not going to get much done on a local level. And the sad thing is it's oftentimes a tragedy in order for the church to wake up and realize they have issues to deal with. One example is the Fordyce shooting. Last week we had a guy come in with, I think, a shotgun and a pistol and shot several people, killing for them in a little town of Fordyce. A lot of people, this is a place where people pretty much know everybody else. Matter of fact, I know somebody who knew the person that did that. We actually had him call into KR News Radio, which I'm a producer of. Had to talk about it. Now, recently, the local churches there are offering concealed carry classes for free. They're going to have an instruction combined, and they can teach you, the basics of carrying a firearm and when and how to use it if an incident occurs, whether it be a mass shooting, a robbery, animal attack, whatever it is. You can be prepared. You can be the first responder. You can be the first person with a gun instead of having to wait for the police to come on, which could take several minutes. But let's be honest, a lot of churches should have and should now, across the state and across the nation, be doing that. And they should be doing more. We're going to have a little bit a thing called Constitution Camp, where a bunch of kids can learn about the true founding of this country and hopefully be prepared for some of the indoctrination they're going to get from school and from culture. Every church should be doing something like that. Not just Sunday school, but, apologetics, wall builders, stuff like that. Really, the churches should be saying, we're going to teach the school kids and tell these public schools to go pound sand. And if you look at a lot of small towns, you'll notice the town. In most places, the town will be falling apart. The roads will be unpaved, cracks in the sidewalk, all businesses shut down. But then you'll see the school and it looks like a Taj Mahal. That's not on accident. That's because of the federal funds, the state funds, the local funds. Most of your tax money on a state and local level goes to education. There you go. And that place is designed, for the most part, it was designed to indoctrinate kids into being workers instead of thinkers. De facto slaves. That's what John D. Rockefeller did when he created the school system. And then one of the guys that instrumental in creating the modern school system we have today actually went to the USSR to learn how they indoctrinated their kids and implemented that system. Churches could easily, there's gazillions of churches that could easily say, you know what, we're going to take this up. But they won't do it. Sadly, that's part of the reason why a pro-abortion amendment passed in what is supposed to be the most pro-life state in the nation. And by the way, that title really still goes to Texas, because again, they're the ones that pushed for the law that went ahead and triggered the end of Roe v. Wade. It should also be noted that after Texas passed that, several other states passed that, but Arkansas didn't. And on a similar note, our former governor, Asa Hutchinson, who painted himself as a Christian conservative, didn't shut down the abortion clinic when other states were doing so during the COVID Fauci flu. So, that kind of stuff is part of the reason why Christian conservatives kind of stayed home. So, folks, people, you need to get out. You need to get campaigning against this issue. You do need to campaign for Republicans. The primary is over. We need to kick out as many Democrats as possible on every level. You need to find out who they are in a city, county, and judicial level. I know only a few states have made that race partisan. And you need to fight like you're surrounded by communists and they're going to take your kids away. Because in many places they are. You look at what's happened to Europe now. For those who don't know, Europe, basically, the Muslims, fake asylum seekers, are literally allowed to rape and murder, and they are only given a few months in jail if charged at all. And any Europeans who try to stand up to that, they're the ones that are thrown in jail for a long time. It is literally the opposite there of what the justice system should be. The guilty go free and the innocent are jailed. And in some blue states, that's pretty much the policy as well. BLM gets to burn stuff down, and they're given bail. While J6 people, or people that weren't even at J6, are having guns pointed at them.